Hello and welcome to 2019. If you are new to this channel, my name is Caitlin Costello and I am a YA fantasy author. Since so many other people are doing it, I wanted to take the time to sit down and talk to you about what 2018 was like for me and what I plan on doing and becoming in 2019. Now, I think the overall theme that I've noticed in the last couple days is that 2018 for a lot of people was really sucky. And for other people it was great but still had some really low lows. And for other people it was just an amazing year. But I think for many people I fall pretty much in the middle, where it was in some ways an amazing year and in some ways a really shitty year. So I want to go over that and how it has affected me, how it's affected this channel, and what I want to take from it into 2019. So just to do a month-by-month recap, I guess, to give you a play-by-play of what 2018 was like. In January, I was working with my best friend and we were working on an amazing show here in Rochester. We were working 2 Tickets to Paradise, the Eddie Money musical, and we got to meet Eddie Money and work with him directly, and that was something I never would have thought going into my senior year of high school would be something that I would have lined up for when I got home. And I learned a lot from it. I learned about theater in the professional world. I learned a lot about myself and my organizational skills, and I took a lot from that rehearsal process. But January was also one of the hardest months of 2018, and I found it really hard also because everyone is so much happier and motivated in January. And it was really a reflective time now, looking back. Reflecting on it now, it was a time of growth for me because you never know what someone is experiencing. And in January and February of 2018, I lost 4 people. 4 people I knew personally, family, mentors, friends. So it was a very difficult time when everyone is like, yes, it's the new year, it's time to be motivated and time to be good. And I was going through the grieving process of people I loved. And so it's one of those where looking back and going into this month, you never know what someone is going through, and to be gentle with them. Hi. Athena is coming to say hi. We're filming right now, baby. Moving into February, again, I was still grieving and I lost a few more people, but it was also the month that the show went down. We opened on Valentine's Day. So I didn't have a Valentine's Day, but it was okay because I was surrounded by people that I loved and I knew loved me and supported me in that show. And then that show ended and I was subbing at school, but I didn't really know what to do. I knew I didn't want to be a teacher and I still don't want to be a teacher, so I started job searching, and thus began me learning more about myself and what I want from a job. And that kind of was another theme of last year, going into this year. Through the last 2 weeks of February, I didn't have anything, and then I got a job for a photography company, which was going to be great. I was going to be going into hospitals and taking pictures of newborn babies, and it was great. I thought it was going to be an amazing experience, and I wasn't really thrilled about the pay bracket because it was by commission, but they had a way that you would be at least paid minimum wage if it didn't work. I was like, okay, not entirely what I wanted, but I'll give it a try. And I learned, especially coming off of a musical where there was constant communication, that I am someone that needs to, if I am going to be working someone, in communication constantly. And that was something that they said from the outright that they wanted to have. So I was giving that to them, but I was not receiving it. So from that, I learned, if you're going to hold me to a standard, I'm going to hold you to that same standard. This month taught me how to do very professional emails. When you look up how to quit a job you haven't started yet on Google, it's a great time. But they did pay me for the training, so I was paid for the 3 weeks of training I had to do, and all the hospital visits to get the shots and things I needed. And then in April, Ethan, Jane, and I signed the lease on this wonderful apartment. I am so happy that I live here, and know I am privileged to live where we do, because it is not a bad area. It is a very nice area, and it is an expensive apartment, which sometimes I definitely feel with the job I have, but I appreciate every moment that I do live here because I have a roof over my head and I'm able to have books and my cat and things that are important to me. But that was also the month that I started working at Walmart. And I learned many things from that job. 1, I should never get a job that I have to start at 5 a.m. Athena. When I started that job, I was still living at my parents' house and I had to commute an hour to get to said job that started at 5, which meant I had to get up and leave my house at 3 o'clock in the morning. I took so much melatonin that month, and I still feel like my sleep schedule is funky because of it. I learned that I should not work retail, and it wasn't even retail in the way where I was interacting with a customer. It was I was stocking shelves, and it was meaningless tasks, but it wasn't a productive time for me because I wasn't able to, like when you're putting a sticker on something and you can spend that time thinking or doing laundry or dishes, you're still being productive and you get an outcome out of it that you're happy about. Stocking mayonnaise for, Athena. Stocking mayonnaise for 3 hours to have it be destroyed in 2 minutes is not something I ever want to experience again. Athena is like right on the bed by you, so I'm sorry. And the people I was with were decent. Like, they weren't bad human beings, but it wasn't a time I felt good. I didn't feel engaged or anything like that. And again, there was just communication errors out the wazoo. I was hired for one shift, but they kept putting me on for a different shift that I could not work. And they kept saying they would fix it, and they didn't. And then I later found out that I had put in my notice, and their department didn't process it. So they said that I was fired because I didn't attend 3 weeks of work, even though I had put in my notice. So I talked to someone there, and they're like, yeah, you totally could have come in and swiped in and been working for 3 weeks, which honestly would have been better than my next job. That was when we moved into this apartment. I said that. In May, I started working for a theater, which I will not name because it was one of the worst experiences of my life. I left Walmart at a very mentally low time, And I went into this job with so much expectation, thinking that I was going to bring so much to it as a production assistant. And they kept saying that they weren't swindling me, that they had told me everything up front, but they did not. And I left a full-time job at Walmart with benefits, to a job where I was prorated $300 a week if I worked 48 hours a week with no benefits and no overtime or anything like that, and told that I should just get on the cheapest form of insurance because I was sick, because I was working so much. And that when I got hurt on the job, told that my boyfriend, who's an EMT, could fix me rather than going to the hospital because I didn't have workers' comp, which is illegal. And there was no way I could work as many hours as they were saying to prorate me the hours. It worked out to $6.25 an hour, which is, again, is illegal. And they tried to mask it with all these perks, like they would give you housing, but their housing was awful. I already had an apartment, all these things, and it was a very bad experience, and I quickly left it. I had another job at another theater, and I technically still work for that theater, but I haven't recently. That was also the month that I graduated. I actually got stitches in this eyebrow, which I can hide by makeup, a week before my graduation. I got the stitches out. The day before I went to my college graduation because I didn't want to have stitches in my eyebrow. Athena's by you again, so. College graduation was amazing. I always knew I was going to go to college and I was going to get a bachelor's. And I loved the school I went to for many reasons. And I miss my friends that are there, and it's definitely been a time because a lot of them were at school this entire time when I was at home, so they didn't have the same issues that I had to deal with at that time. They're catching up now and realizing why I was the way I was, which was sad. And then I got a job with the company I am with still and plan on being for as long as I can. It is a company that is near and dear to my heart that I have been involved with since I was a little girl. So I am very honored to work for this company that I worked for them in the past at my summer camps and things, but it never was this. And they saved me from spiraling because I had quit the job at Walmart for these theater jobs that had told me that they would be so great, and I was embarrassed, and I was embarrassed and hurt, and really sad. But the people there were people I knew that took me in and immediately said, yes, we'll figure something out for you. We will find you somewhere to be with us. And so I started working for them. And in June, my brother and Ethan's sister graduated high school, and I announced that my book was going to be sold, and announced the cover of it and the pre-order, and it was met with so much love and encouragement, which kind of continued for the rest of the year, and I am forever thankful for all of you and the community that has been born from it, and everything that I've learned in the last 6 months from it. July, I turned 22, and I was working and I was editing, and I stopped trying. Really not too much happened in July. It was a pretty uneventful time as far as, I'm sorry, I need to. This is what she's doing while I am trying to film right now. July was quite an uneventful month. Nothing really happened, and it was something I was thankful for. I was able to take the time and work on edits, and I was working with betas at this time, and then I transitioned to an editor and just getting everything squared away. August was again like a mad dash of editing, and I learned that Jane and I had acquired the position as directors at our high school. The woman that I spoke about in January that had passed away was the former director and our mentor for theater. And we were honored to be able to take over the role of directors. We are splitting the position so that we can make sure that the kids were able to recover from the loss, and we were able to always give them 100% of our time and energy, even if it was 50-50 or 25-50. And that was really great. September, we started rehearsals, we started the audition process, and I released my first book. The rituals came out, and it was met with so much love. It was also a terrifying time, especially leading up to the launch, because Hurricane Florence came, and at that point I was with CreateSpace, and CreateSpace's main printing press, where all of my proofs had been printed, was in was in South Carolina, where Hurricane Florence was coming, and I didn't know if I was going to get my copies in time for the launch party. But lo and behold, they did come in time, and the launch went amazing. I sold like 60 copies, including the pre-sales, in the first month, and that was more than I ever expected. Most of the self-published authors I had talked to had told me 25 books sold for your first year was a lofty goal. And 3-4 months later, I'm sitting at over 120. The book launched, and on publication day, it got down to 2005 on not even on the Kindle store, just on the Amazon rankings for a book at the epic fantasy category. And I was flabbergasted. Like, I was happy with like 10,000. I was happy with 25,000 or even like 1 million, because there's like over 8 million books on Amazon. So to get down to 2005 as a self-published author was amazing, and I don't know if I could top that. I would love to, oh my god, but it was more than I ever anticipated or expected or anything, and I was so thankful. I cried so much. And then the launch party, I did the live stream and I did the video on it, and again, it was just amazing. And the amount of people then and now that have asked me where book 2 is scary. Please review my book on Amazon and Goodreads. But it just made me so thankful for the people around me and who loved me and encouraged me to do this, because it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I was terrified. So October was me just continuing to push the book, really, and to really get into the rehearsal process, because our show was going to be the end of November. So we were getting started and figuring out our stride and where to go. And then I was also starting new schools to work with at work. November, I did NaNoWriMo for the 7th time, and I wrote the latter half of Rebellion. And I went right to the wire. I finished at like 11:47 on November 30th, which is the day we opened hour show. I wrote so much that day. I got up early and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, and then I went to work and I wrote in the car, and then I went and I did a show and I acted in the show that I directed. And then I went home and I wrote for another 3 hours, and mad dash panic wrote as much as I could. And I was so proud of myself because I created and did so much work on those 2 projects that opened and closed at the same time. And then December, we closed the show and we struck the show. And I hadn't finished Rebellion. I still haven't. But I got myself an outline of the last couple chapters and I took a break. And I'm slowly plinking at those last couple chapters, and I got a proof printed so I can work on editing the beginning while I finish up the end. And I really let myself take that time that I needed to recoup after pouring so much into the artistic process those last couple months. And then came Christmas and New Year's, and in the last 10 days, I discovered something I forgot about. And it's something never diagnosed, but you can probably tell in those vlogs and how I am now that I am a different person in the winter than I am in the summer. And a lot of that is just mental, emotional. I was always very rigid with everything in high school and in college, of like, I need to do this and then this and then this and then this. And this year, 2018, something that I really focused on, because Ethan beat it into me, was taking time for myself and telling people no. But with that, it's telling myself no. And that I get to be too flexible, and then I hate myself for being so inflexible or flexible and not doing things and not being productive and not having that routine that I need to be a happy person. I got sick, I got upset, I got angry, I was irritable, I was forgetful. I still am those things right now. I'm not like a completely different person 3 days later. But I am back at work now. I had 10 days off because of holiday breaks and things, and I am thankful for that. But next year, I need to be consistent because I was not a happy person, and that's okay. I just need to work on being me and not letting messed up routines change my life and how I act and how I sleep, because it's really gonna mess with me this week. Like, I wasn't going to bed until like 1 or 2, and then I'd have to go get Ethan from work, and then I would get home and I would sleep until like 10. I would set alarms, but I would just keep snoozing them and then turning them off and then thinking, oh yeah, I'll be fine, I can wake up now, and then falling asleep until like 10:30. And then feeling awful, and then trying to clean the apartment but having no motivation, and it was just a cycle. So in 2019, I really want to establish routines for myself and things that I have to do. And even if I wake up late, I still have to do that routine. It's not it's 10 o'clock, I can't do any of those things. No, you can still do them. You just gotta do them faster than you normally would. And make it not affect my day-to-day existence. Trick my brain, I guess. In 2019, I plan on releasing book 2 in the Ritual Saga sometime in late summer. And possibly begin edits on a second or a third book, not in the Ritual Saga. I want to let myself take a break. Because, and I know that might be like, no, to some people, but I wrote the first half of Rebellion in 2016. In 2017, the prequel to the Ritual Saga was my thesis. In 2018, I released the first book. And in 2019, I will be releasing the second book. 2016, 2017, 2018, and then 2019. So, while only 2 projects will be seen by you, I have been working on this for 4 years, even more so if you count book 1. And I need a break. I need a recharge. So I'm going to work on editing another book in a standalone book that is probably the only book of this kind that I will write. It is, at least for the foreseeable future, it is a romance history thing. And I've talked about it briefly in the past, and I want to get it into the world. So I want to work on editing that and possibly publish that in early 2020. And I would like to write a first book in a series that I've been thinking about for... I remember writing notes for it during January of last year, so a year now or more. So those are like the projects I want to work on, and a little thing that I want to work on for myself. I want to be better with money. I go month to month with how I am with money, and I want to have a better relationship with it. Money is something that gives me great anxiety and stress, and I cry a lot because of, but I also recognize that I am in a very privileged place in my life. But I could easily fall off that and lose it even more than what I'm afraid of. So I want to have a better relationship with that. I want to treat myself better, like remembering when to eat and to actually work out, because that's another thing that makes me feel good, because I did so many sports in high school and in college, and I need to make that commitment to myself and for my brain, because it's a time when I recharge, even when I discharge. So that commitment to myself. And I want to be a better person to be around, in the fact that I want to not, this is going to sound strange, not hold myself so accountable to deadlines. Deadlines are really good, but I'm not going to let them take over my life, which is something that I started to do in December, where I would get so hung up on not making a deadline and missing a deadline and stressing about a deadline that it would just consume me, and because I would be so unmotivated and so stressed that I wouldn't make the deadline, that I would just become a generally awful person to be around. So I work for myself, unless I'm getting an editor. I work for myself. And while I would love to always be able to put out 90,000%, I don't want to make this something that I regret, in the fact that it hurts me mentally when it's only going to be my second book. So some of the things that I've learned from book 1 is that I can have a goal, and I can still meet that goal, but I don't need to be as harsh with myself to meet that goal. Yeah. So I want 2019 to be a good year for me. 2018, I learned to say no a lot for myself, and I'm going to continue to do that for 2019, but I also want to be more assertive of knowing what I want and going for it and being unapologetic with it, but also thank those around me. I don't know what I want. I just want to be a nicer person, because I'm not always when I'm very stressed. So by starting that out, I'm not, that deadline that I threw out for myself, I'm not focusing on it as much. I'm letting myself do what I need to do to make it be the best it can be. My first reader wanted it, and I told her, this is it. It's not edited in any way that would be something I would hand to you, but if you want it now, you can have it. No, I am working on it at the same time as you, and this is what I'm working on, and we can work on it together. And so we're seeing where it's going, and that's what I want. I want more of 2019 to be, we'll see how it happens. A thing that Ethan and I always say to each other is, it always works out, we know it will. I want to embrace that more. It'll be okay. It might be rough, but it'll be okay, and we'll get there. And that's what I want for 2019. It doesn't have to be, we will have to get there. We'll get there. So, this was really rambly. I don't really know how to edit it already, so I don't know if I will. I might just post it uncut because I think it would be better raw. And yeah. Tell me the highlights of your, or lowlights about your 2018 and the things that you want from 2019 for you, for your projects, and show the people in the comments around you some love, and people in your life around you, because like I said, you never know what someone's going through. So I hope you all have a wonderful night. All of my social media links will be down below, and I hope you will join this wonderful community that we are trying to build here. And I'll see you in the next one. I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.